big thank you to Don. Where's he? Don, thank you for all the information that you've given all of us. Increased our knowledge, decreased our fears, and that's what I hope to do for you today with our Fieldpiece tool lineup, is to increase your knowledge and how it's going to interact with the A2L refrigerants, how, like Don said, when best practices are followed, then when you work with the A2L refrigerants, you're going to have success. And you're not going to have to worry, or you're going to have to respect the A2Ls, but we're here to give you information and knowledge to reduce your fears. So that is basically our mission today: inform you, decrease the fears. So today we're going to talk about our Fieldpiece compatible tool lineup. My name is Tammy Ciesla. I'm a Fieldpiece technical training specialist. And we're going to go over the Fieldpiece tool lineup. We're going to go over the JobLink ecosystem. How many of you use our JobLink tools currently? How many of you use our JobLink app? Okay, good. So a few more than that's good, that's awesome. So we're going to be covering our JobLink tool line, how it integrates with our powerful service mobile app JobLink. We're going to talk about that throughout the presentation today. Introduce you to all of our tools in case you are not familiar with them, when to use them, where to use them, and how they interact with the A2L refrigerants. And then we're going to go through system recovery and how that process is also going to be impacted by the A2L refrigerants. And we're going to talk about our machines, our tools, and how things have been changed or added to give you safety measures and to make you feel safe and secure when dealing with the A2Ls. It's important to know that when you're talking about A2L refrigerants and the OEM manufacturers, their equipment, their different parts in their systems, us as tool manufacturers, how there's going to be words associated with those tools and with the OEM equipment. So you need to know the differences between certified, compatible, and rated. Certified, I think Don made mention of, is when a third-party independent testing facility is hired. And what they do is they bring that tool, that system, parts of the system, whether it be coils, TXVs, compressors, and they go through a rigorous testing procedure. They spend a lot of money, they take time. Like I think you said, Don, millions of dollars are spent to get things certified. So they want to make sure that in the end, when they say that it is certified, that it is going to be and work compatible with the A2Ls. Compatible means that, first of all, how many of you have compatibility with your coworkers? Raise your hand. You exist without conflict? How many of you have compatibility with your spouse or your significant other? A few of you raise your hand. I occasionally do have that compatibility. So you do what she tells you. That's exactly, that makes you compatible, right? We as women love to hear that. What's that? Spent lots of money and did rigorous testing on her. So compatible is going to be used most often with manufacturers' tool lines. That's when the tool manufacturer has put the tools through rigorous and specific testing. We have our engineers that do different tests, and that it is deemed to be compatible. That means the two can coexist and live in harmony together, that you're not going to have any conflict when the tool is combined with the A2L. You're going to have a positive outcome. So that's a big difference between compatible and certified, right? Certified is when they're going to send it to an independent third-party testing facility. It goes through a series of tests over could be years or a year, months or years, I should say. And then a lot of money is spent. The compatible is when the tool manufacturer, such as Fieldpiece, their engineering department, so you have all of our different types of engineers, and they're the ones who developed and manufactured these tools. So those engineers are the ones who do the compatibility testing. So they're going to make sure that the A2Ls coexist and you're not going to have any conflict when you combine that tool with the A2L refrigerants. And then, as Don made mention of, a rated, like our hoses, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, are rated. So they have also been, they're compatible, And they've actually also been tested by a third party. So we're going to talk about hoses in a little bit. So just so you know, words do matter when you're talking about A2L refrigerants, systems, parts of the systems, and the tools that go along with them. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that part. Our Fieldpiece A2L compatible lineup, you're going to see here up on the screen. As Don made mention of, you know, the propagation, how the flame is going to go outside that 90-degree angled, as he showed you in that picture, it does go outside of it. Does it go outside of it a lot? No, it doesn't, but it still goes outside of it. So you need to respect that it is more flammable than the A1s. You need to respect that it is best practices need to be followed to ensure your safety, the homeowner's safety, or commercial or refrigeration, you know, with the business owner's safety as well. So as long as you're following best practices, and we're going to talk about that today as well, what are those best practices in different applications? I'll make mention of that so you guys can take note in your mental note in your mind and work with that moving forward. So we have, first of all, our 2 digital manifolds. Is anybody owners of our digital manifolds? All right, good. Do you like them? How many refrigerants do you guys know are in there? 40? There's actually 70. It comes pre-filled with a list of 70 refrigerants. A2Ls are also included in that list that it comes in. And as new A2L refrigerants are introduced into the market, you can go to our fieldpiece.com website, do a firmware update. On the sides of our digital manifolds, there is a USB. Right here, it's hiding. So there's a USB, so you just take a flash drive, plug it into your computer, do the firmware update, put the flash drive into your manifold, and the new A2L refrigerants will be loaded into your digital manifolds and ready to use. So that's something specific to our digital manifolds. Again, our digital manifolds are been tested for pressures, temperatures. They are deemed compatible and work with the A2L refrigerants. How many of you own our, I don't think this is not going to work, the pressure probes, pipe clamps, psychrometers, our charge and air kit? Okay, 1, 2, 3, probably a good handful. Is it more convenient to use your charge and air kit than it is the manifold? In what ways? How is it more convenient? Less. Yep. You're able to get up and down places, travel to and from places, a lot more convenient, right? What else is more convenient or makes it easier for you to use your charge and air kit than maybe your manifolds? Okay. How can you check it outside if you're inside? Okay.
I like the input for just PDF.
Right. Okay, good. And we're going to talk about all of those. We're going to talk about the features and functions of our JobLink tools and how it's integrated with our JobLink app with the whole intention and purpose of making your lives easier, faster, and better. So we're going to talk about that as well. And we have our scale here. This is our SR47. Does anybody own a Fieldpiece scale? Do you know what rendition you have by chance? Okay, so it needs to be hooked up with, it doesn't connect with JobLink. Okay, that's a good point. This is our newer rendition. They are 7 pounds, so they're light. We have a easy to carry case, so you can just take it with your hands and carry it back and forth. The transponder is a good size. Are you guys familiar with our magnets on all of our tools that need to be hands-free? What is the benefit of that? Okay, but why do you want to work hands-free? Obviously for obvious reasons, right? Okay, you need to use both hands, and it allows you to do and engage and be many different places and do many different things and accomplish a lot of things at one time, right? So all of our tools that need to have a magnet to allow you to work hands-free have exactly that. And they're very strong magnets. So when you place them on a system, they're not going to slide down. And we're going to talk about our scale in a little bit as well with the recovery process and the charging. But you're going to, when you use our JobLink app, is it important for you guys to know gross and tear weight at the same time to be able to view those two measurements? Why is that? Why do you want to know gross and tear weight at the same time? Why do you want to see both? Because why? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know how much is left. You know how much space is left. You know how much you are putting in or taking out. And then our recovery machine. This is our MR45. How many of you use our MR45? One? Okay. This whole session today is about A2L refrigerants, right? Reclamation, recovery. Why is it more important than ever for us to recover refrigerant after you heard Don talk, starting today and into the coming years? More important now than it ever has been in the past. The more refrigerant you recover, what is that going to do to the cost of the refrigerant? It's going to keep it down, right? So in order for you guys to have availability to these refrigerants and have the cost not go skyrocket, you need to recover. And recovery is very, very important. And we're going to get into the details of our recovery machine and what feature has been added to our recent rendition of our MR45 to allow you to work safely and more conveniently with our A2Ls. That doesn't mean that if you have a recovery machine now, it's not going to be obsolete. You're just going to have to do an extra step that now the new machines do for you. So we'll be talking about that in detail. We have our 2 leak detectors. How many of you love to find leaks? Yes. Oh, you do.
Yeah, we love to find them.
You love to find them because then you love the end result of what you have to do because you found them, right? Is it, okay, let me rephrase that. Is it an easy task to find a leak? No, no. How many of you have used our Fieldpiece leak detectors? Okay, good. We have a big audience this might be very beneficial for you guys. They are literally, I went into a distributor a couple months ago, and this is a real story. I was showing our tools, and they had a leak in their ceiling. So I got on a ladder, climbed up. No, I'm just joking. They climbed up the ladder. They found the leak. But the day before, they had a technician out there that spent 5 hours using all these different tools. And I was at a distributor, so they had availability to use different tools. And I said, you guys give me 5 minutes with my 2 leak detectors, and I guarantee you I'm going to find that leak. And they're like, there's no way. There's no way you're going to do that. So lo and behold, I give the guy my 2 leak detectors. He goes up the ladder. This is no joke. Within like a minute, he's like, I cannot believe we found the leak. They called the technician. He couldn't believe that they had done it either. So we're going to talk about our leak detectors and what makes them extremely, I don't want to say better than their competitors because we always want to respect our competitors. But this tool above, well, this tool, including all the tools on the table, work really well. So I will talk about our leak detectors and what sets them apart from our competitors. Our micron gauge. How many of you guys use a micron gauge? Is it important to use a micron gauge? Yes. When you're pulling a vacuum, you obviously need to know what your micron levels are. Does anybody know what the micron levels start at? Close. 760,000. The micron levels when you start to pull a vacuum are at 760,000. What level do you ultimately want to get at? Below what? Below 500. So our micron gauge, and I'm going to be talking about what makes it unique and why it gives you information that you normally would not get in using different micron gauges. So we'll talk about that as well. And lastly, our vacuum pump. How many of you use our vacuum pump? What do you love about it that you didn't have in your past vacuum pumps? Changing the oil. How many of you, first of all, change your oil? How often do you change your oil? First of all, congratulations. That's the most I've ever seen any group raise their hands. So a big congratulations in that. Do you change it constantly? Okay, good. So you're using best practices. That's exactly what you should be doing, right? You should be changing your oil. And we're going to talk about our vacuum pump. And what sets our vacuum pump apart from all of our other tools is that our vacuum pump is certified. So it has been independently tested by a third party, spent lots of money, went through the rigorous testing, and it's deemed certified to work with A2L refrigerants. Yes. Well, depending on how, well, do you have the RunQuick oil change?
Yeah.
Yes, then you're good. If you have the RunQuick oil change, you can see on the back, there's a sticker that has A2L certified. So you will know, if you have the RunQuick oil change, you have an A2L certified vacuum pump. So we're going to talk about all those things and much more today, but it's going to give you guys and hopefully alleviate fears, allow you to know that you can use your tools, and there has been some features added to some of them, and to know that you can use these tools safely and securely with the A2Ls when best practices are followed. That's what you really want to remember. You don't want to go in, fly by night, do the easiest thing to get out the quickest amount of time. You want to follow best practices when using A2L refrigerants. Because you need 3 things in order to ignite the flame, correct? Oxygen, fuel, and an igniter, a heat source, ignition. So when you have those 3 things present, an ignition can happen. And like Don was saying, with the MIE, what is mitigation? Minimum ignition energy, MIE. When you have the minimum ignition energy present, it can start the fire or the flame, but to have it sustain, like Don was saying as well, that's a whole different story. It's hard to get that flame to sustain and to travel through time, right? So you might get an initial flame, but for that flame to stay ignited over time is not very likely with A2L refrigerants. Though, like Don also said, for liability reasons, we need to make sure that we are using A2L compatible tools. If you have other tools from other competitors, which is great, we're not here just to say use Fieldpiece, go on their website and make sure that they are A2L compatible. That would be something important that you would want to go ahead and confirm and make sure that that is the process, that is the, it actually put into place. How many of you know that we have hoses? Okay, a couple of you, good. They just came out 6 weeks ago. Our hoses have been rated, they're compatible, and they have been tested, certified. So they have gone through the rigorous testing. Those of you who have these hoses, what do you like most about them? Are they easy? Are they flexible? Can you guys touch them and feel them? Do they feel different than normal hoses? Or they feel the same? They feel close to the same? What's that? A little bit more flexible? The only reason I say that and bring that up is because that's what a lot of people say. Try these little guys because you're using the vacuum. Yeah, do you see the 5/16 and the 3/8? And there's 3/8 to 3/8. So our hoses warrant a 45-minute presentation in themselves. I could literally talk about the hoses for a significant amount of time. But there are some messages that I want to share with you today to get the point across that make our hoses worth investigating and learning more about. And when you're dealing with A2L refrigerants, like Don said, invest in hoses, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And do you want to have a set of hoses for A2Ls and a set of hoses for A1s?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We all know contamination goes back to the practice.
Right. Right. And one thing about our hoses that are different than our See if I can get, do you guys have the one with the, okay, so you guys, you're fine with it. I just wanted to point it out. Our hoses are, well, what color? Black. Is that typical and normal? No. Okay, we have identifying tags that go on our hoses. Blue, vapor, red, liquid, yellow for charging, okay? And then we have our vacuum hoses. They come in different sizes. They come with different connections. We have ball valves, we have low loss, and we have 5/16 on one side and 1/4 on the other. Where would that be useful? Mini splits. You can buy them independent of each other, or you can buy them in a combination pack. So you can buy, for instance, 2 low loss and 1 ball valve, 2 ball valve, 1 low loss. You can get the different fittings, the 5/16 to 1/4. For the vacuum hoses, you can get 3/8 to 3/8, as this one is. And you can also buy our vacuum hoses 3/8 to 1/4. Why would you want a vacuum hose 3/8 to 1/4? Does anybody know?
Hook right onto the unit.
It hooks onto the unit, but what does the 1/4 hook onto? The mini split, okay? So you're going to have availability and you're going to have options to purchase your hoses how you would like. And when you are dealing with A2Ls, you're going to have a tag. You're going to have a tag like Don is saying. The significant colors for A2Ls are red and gray. Or like he says, we don't know if it's beige or whether it's gray, whatever color you want to call it. I'm going to call it gray for whatever reason. So on your A2L hoses, you're going to buy these tags that have the red and the gray. We also come with extensions that are the ball valve or the low loss. Why would you need these extensions? What if you're hooking up your pressure probes? Oh, here they are. And you're in a tight spot. Can you always access the ports conveniently? No. That's when you can use these. And you can attach these to the system, allow you to work more conveniently, get around, and put your tools where you need to be in the right spot. These are, well, all of our tools are 1-year warranty, and I believe that our hoses are the same way. In fact, I'm sure that our hoses are the same way. But just so you guys know, you didn't hear this from me, somebody who works for the manufacturer. They're very big on customer service. So if you go outside that 1-year warranty period, still contact Fieldpiece. Tell them what the issue is. They may charge you $75, but they may give you a refurbished piece of equipment. So it's definitely worth reaching out to Fieldpiece headquarters, which is in Orange, California. So that's definitely worth noting and for you guys to use that information in the future. You guys, in addition to our hoses and our tags, there is to accommodate for the A2L and make them certified, rated, and compatible, there's a 4th inner layer within the hose, within each of the hoses that makes it A2L compatible and A2L certified. So just so you guys know, you can use these hoses with confidence in using A2Ls. All of our hoses are vacuum rated, all sizes, but of course we want you to use the vacuum hose when you're pulling a vacuum. For what reason? It's bigger, right? And speed, exactly, because of it being a larger diameter. And it goes down to a pull of 20 microns. The other ones go under 500. The vacuum hoses will go down to 20 and below, go down to about around 20. Typically, you're not going to get to 0, but so that's the difference between our hoses and the vacuum rated and which ones to use. Different sizes, different connectors. You can purchase them differently as well in combo packs or independent of each other. And they also come with adapters. So you have the 5/16 to 1/4 angled and straight adapter. When would you need those again? In dealing with what? Mini splits. Okay, let's talk about the customer happiness journey. And what is the end goal when you go into a customer site? What's that? You said make money. Okay, at the end, you'll see that little money, little with wings flying. Make them smile. Your goal is to make them happy and satisfied while you also make money, right? So there's a journey when you are going into a customer site. You're going to figure out what's going on. You're going to collect data. And the one way you collect the data is you go in and you use your senses. You listen to the customer, you hear their pain points, you listen to their problems, you figure out what's going on. Use your sight, use your touch, sense of smell, and by doing and engaging all your senses, you haven't even picked up a tool yet, but you're still collecting the data. When you have collected all that data using your senses, you go and collect more data. Then what do? You collected data by listening, by touching, by smelling. Now you're going to use your tools. You're going to use your tools and hook them up to the system to collect more data. Okay? After you've collected the data through your senses, through your tools, you're going to digest the information that you have now become newly informed about, and you're going to diagnose the system. You're going to come up with a plan of action on how to rectify the problem at hand. And usually that costs extra money than what you typically probably went in there for, or what the customer intended to pay. It's not our job to upsell them. That's not what we want to do, though some may agree or disagree with that. I see some eyes rolling and smiling. So it's not our job to upsell them, but during calls that does happen. And there are a few of our tools that help that along, and we'll talk about that as well today. So our customer happiness journey, that's our ultimate goal, to make the customer happy, make them satisfied in what you have done. And in order to make them happy and satisfied in what we did, you have to collect data, like I talked about, through your senses, through your tools. But what is the importance of collecting high quality data? Can you just go in there and just figure out what's going on? What happens? Is it important to collect high quality data? Yeah. What happens when you do not collect high quality data? Yeah, you're getting a poor diagnosis. You've made a poor recommendation and a plan of action to the customer. Your plan going forward is not going to work because you did not collect good high quality data. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how to collect that good high quality data. It's a combination of goal, location, accuracy, and time. All those things together, when performed correctly, are going to give you high quality measurements. High quality measurements are going to help in making accurate diagnosis. Customer's going to be happy. The contractor is going to be happy because they're not going to have to deploy they're not going to have to do a callback and deploy a truck free of charge. So there's lots of reasons why you want to collect the high quality data. The first thing that you're going to do is understanding of the issue, or to set a goal. For this instance, we're going to talk about collecting information to get to a superheat. When you talk about superheat, understanding what measurements are you going to take when you're talking about superheat? What is it? Temperature and pressures. Okay, can you take temperature and pressures multiple ways? What if I wanted to take the pipe temperature and I use an IR gun? Could I do that? You actually could do it. If you were using an infrared gun, but are you going to get accurate data? No, you're not going to get accurate data. So it's very important that when you are trying to get to superheat, you take the proper measurements and you take them in the proper way. And understanding what the measurement to achieve to take, okay, the third one down, choosing an appropriate location. What if I went to go check superheat on the liquid line? Am I going to get a correct measurement? Where do you want to take it? Where? On the suction, right. So you have to make sure that what your end goal is to find out what superheat is, that you're using the proper measurements and you're using them in the proper location. Choosing a proper instrument. We have here our pressure probes and pipe clamps. So when you're going to take temperatures and pressures, how many of you know our rapid rail technology and our pipe clamps? This is these rails right here, these silver rails. You might be able to see them a little bit better on our larger tools. For residential, obviously smaller, 1 3/8, 4 1/8. Goes up to for commercial. What does anybody know what these rails do? Measure temperature, but this is our patent pending rapid rail technology. When you take temperatures of a pipe, what do you usually have to do? You have to do what? Wait. Yeah, actually, yes, that's our next thing. You have to wait. You're not going to take those temperatures right away when the system starts up. You're going to wait at least 15 minutes, correct? But when you take the temperature of a pipe, do you sometimes have to chip away the ice? Do you sometimes have to take a cloth and clean it? Our rapid rail technology was designed to alleviate any interaction with the water, oil, the ambient temperature, whether it be cold or hot. So when you have and are taking pipe temperatures, you actually have the pipe and it becomes part of the circuit. Oh, these aren't my tools. I'm gonna blame Scott. No, I'm just teasing Scott. I'm not gonna throw you under the bus. So usually you're gonna get this is beeping because it's out of batteries or it's low in batteries. But typically when the copper pipe becomes, when you're taking the temperature, it becomes part of the circuit and you're going to see a green light and you're gonna hear a beep. So you're gonna know immediately that you have good connectivity and connection, and you're gonna get an accurate pipe temperature reading within 1 to 3 seconds. So that is our rapid rail technology for the residential and the commercial user as well. Okay, so choosing an appropriate instrument like we just talked about and choosing the correct time like we just talked about. Collecting high quality data is something that you all achieve to do when you go out on a call. You want to not only earn money, but you want to leave the call with a satisfied, happy customer. And through time, tools have advanced to allow you to do exactly that, to allow you to leave that call with happy customers. So we're going to talk about a little bit of the advancements that have taken place through time that is going to help you and give you some more information so that you can leave your customers happy and satisfied when you leave a call. Analog gauges, do they do a good job? Yeah. Have they been in the industry for how long? Years and years and years, right? Have tolerance tests got tighter as our industry has advanced? Yes or no? Yes. Does the analog gauges provide you the information with those higher tolerance tests, how they're becoming more strict and your readings need to be more accurate? Do you find that to be a problem? Some of you say no.
I think the main area, like pressure testing,
Right.
digital gauge, fraction of pounds of pressure.
Well, that was a great segue. With a digital gauge, you can see exactly those minor subtleties that are very important when you're making a diagnosis. And so the analog gauges, when you're working on systems that are 15 to 30 years old or older, do a great job. And they've been very loyal and work well, and they have worked well. But with the new systems that are coming out and that are even out in the market today, it is more important for digital gauges to be used because you're going to give those subtleties and those little minor differences that you would not be able to see using an analog gauge. When you use digital technology, can you be inside and outside the unit at one time and see what's going on? Well, with our digital gauge, you can. Typically, and if you're using JobLink app. Typically, if you're using a digital gauge, you are going in the outside unit. You're going on the inside unit. You're collecting data. By the time you went from inside to outside, your data is now, you know, could be 5 to 10 minutes old. Things may have changed from the indoor unit to the outdoor unit. So you're taking what's called serial tests. You're not taking them together and you're not seeing what's going on in the environment all at once. That's with our digital gauges. Does it alleviate math errors? Yes, so it does alleviate math errors. That's a huge benefit to the digital technology, right? I know when we go and teach and we talk about recovery, and we're not going to get into this today because lack of time, but when we talk about tare weight and we talk about the mathematical computations, when we have them first do it and fill out those, or you know, work through those mathematical computations the first time, it takes like 10 or 15 minutes. And then when we hook up the digital gauges or our wireless or our digital gauges, they're like, I can't even believe. Half of them got it and made a mistake, just as I do. You know, you make a mistake, so your readings aren't even correct in the first place. So digital technology has come a long way since the analog. It's better to use for the tighter tolerance tests. You're going to get more accurate data. The problem is it's serial. You can't see the system in its entirety. You can see with our digital manifold, like the you know, the charge. You can't see electrical though. And you can see a portion of the airflow, but not all of it. And then along came wireless tools. How many of you are tech resistant or not interested in the wireless tools? Which I completely respect and I understand. Okay, well that's good, not to see hands raised. And if you are, that's okay. You can use the digital manifolds and still get the information. But using our wireless tools alleviates the math errors, alleviates you having to go inside and outside the unit and wasting time and getting outdated information. When you have all your tools hooked up to the system at once, you're going to know exactly what's transpiring from the inside unit to the outside unit, refrigerant, electrical, airflow. You're going to see exactly the interrelation of when things are manipulated or changed. And that is the benefit to our wireless tools. If you see our wireless tools and it doesn't have a screen, you know you need to use our JobLink app to get those readings. If you have our Micron gauge, does it have a screen? Yes. Does anybody know, can you use our Micron gauge with our JobLink app? Yeah, you can. But since you have a screen, that allows you to make the decision to use it with or without the JobLink app. But if you don't have a screen, you have to use it with our JobLink app in order to get the information. So that's an easy differentiator between the tools and the screens and the no screens, just to give you that information. So our wireless tools, 1,000 feet wireless range line of sight. If you have huge concrete barriers, are in 20-foot concrete building, it might go down slightly, but you're going to get connectivity. What happens if you don't have internet? Can you still use them? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
With the digital manifold, I had a lot of issues with that signal through my phone.
Oh, interesting.
No,
No, not these guys. Not the 380 and 480. Not our latest rendition.
Well,
Possibly the one prior to that. Do you have a new one?
I don't know.
Okay, it could be. And then that was the rendition before the 380 and the 480.
So it's much.
It has much improved. Yes, they actually took it out to the desert and tested it by walking, 1,000 feet away. It actually goes longer than 1,000 feet, but they can securely say and confidently say that you have 1,000 feet wireless range line of sight. So, and it is not internet based, so you don't have to worry if you don't have internet connectivity. It's beacon technology. There's direct one-to-one communication, and you can be confident in knowing that when you go into rural areas, as long as you have cell reception, you're going to get your tool measurements and you're going to get all your readings. So that's one way to really know whether you're going to get them or not. If you don't have cell connectivity, you're not going to be able to use the tools. Excuse me?
Wireless.
Correct, but wirelessly are the only, like we have our JobLink family, and those are the tools that don't have the screen. You have to use those with the JobLink. So we have a whole wireless family of tools. We're kind of combining two today. We're talking about A2L compatible tools and our certified tools, and we're also talking about our JobLink family and our JobLink app. And we're going to talk about our JobLink app, and I'll show you what it looks like on the screen in just a little bit. Questions about the advancements in technology? Are you going to, in what category are you going to be able to give the highest quality of data collection? What's that? Accuracy plus, right, the wireless range. So you're going to use the wireless tools are going to give you the highest quality, like we talked about in the previous slide. That's the data that you want to collect in order to make good informed decisions and to come up with a plan of action to your customer and how you're going to solve their problem with the end result of leaving them happy and satisfied. And for those of you who want to, you obviously want to make money, right? So it's a combination of everything together. So with the wireless tools, it's going to allow you to do that. And here's what the JobLink family looks like and how it covers all different parts of the system. We have the refrigerant charge. You can use the digital manifold, or because the digital manifold, just so you guys know, come with these pipe clamps. They connect in the back. In case you don't have the newer model, just so you guys know the upgrades, they are hidden in the back. So when you can connect the thing to the back, it's not going to bend. When the K couple, what do you call these little things? Yes, thank you, K couplings. So those are not going to bend when you put them in your truck or van. They used to be located on the front, and so they have hidden them in the back. Does this have rapid rail technology? No. You guys probably can't see them in the back, but there's only one silver rail on the top of this one. So you're not going to have rapid rail technology. You're not going to get that beep. You're not going to be able to use the oil and the water and the temperatures and not have it be a factor in the end result of your pipe temperatures. So you can, they work well. These, of course, work better. You can use them with these, the pipe clamps, or you can go ahead and override them and connect them to the manifold and use these. We're saying that both do well, these do better. There's good, better, and best, right?
So that'll read directly.
Correct. That'll read directly to the manifold. Yep. And this is going to give you every reading that you want. Oh, they lose them because, well, yeah, I could actually see that.
Or they'll leave it if it's not a set.
Right, which makes sense. And I do see that happening. So we have our pipe clamps, our pressure probes, and our manifold to check the charge and the temperatures. Electrical, how many of you own one of our meters? Kate, what do you like about the meters? Okay, they always work? Yes.
I just had a question.
Sure.
You got the manifold and these on at the same time? Or
Well,
are you using a T feeding or something?
You would have a T, yeah. We'll go over that when we talk about, yeah. But yes, you would need a T. They just wanted to show you what two set of tools you could use to check the charge in the air. But that's a good question. How many of you work on variable frequency drives? Just a few. Okay. What is important when you're testing variable frequency drives? What do you have to test? The three-phase testing? Okay, the 680 voltmeter, or the clamp meter rather, you can do the three-phase testing on variable frequency drives. Has true RMS. It has the leads that you can hold in the back. It does all the tests that you want, and it also tells kilowatts. So that's probably the only thing that your customer is going to understand as the amount of power consumption that their unit is running. So when you get there, before you do anything, check the kilowatts. Show them exactly how much power their system was using before you did a service or a repair. And then when you're done with the call, take another reading on the kilowatts, and you can say, because of what I did, because you guys, we never get any validation, right? You're constantly having to, credit, give yourself credit or make yourself valuable because the customer doesn't really understand what you do, because it's pretty comprehensive, and but they do understand power. So with the 680, and the 680 is the one that does the power and the three-phase testing. The 480 is the one that has everything else with the 680 except the power and the three-phase testing.
That reads kilowatt.
Correct. 680 reads kilowatt. Has the swivel head, so you can get in and out of those tight spaces. Has a screen that lights up, so if you're in a low light area in a dark place, you can see all your readings. You can get voltages and amperages at the same time, see them. You can get there's capacitance, there's ohms, there's microfarads, there's, if you want, there's at Fieldpiece University, it would take you around the dial and teach you what each of these readings are. Sake of time, we don't have time to go into that, but just know that it has a vast majority of jobs that it can do. And safety measures were put into place. You have a light. So when you're connecting to something, you can see and be safe and know that you can see what you're doing. It has the leads in the back for storage on the 680 and allows you to connect so you can work with just one hand and use the other hand for safety. If you're connecting to the system and you're taking your readings. And it also has the light and the beep for non-contact voltage. So if you are hooked up and you are testing something and there is power and where there shouldn't be, or if there's power anytime, it's going to let you know to be careful and to give you a warning that, hey, there is voltages coming through there. So that is our clamp meters. The 680 is the only one that swivels. 680 is the only one with power and the three-phase testing. The scale, we talked a little bit about the scale. We'll talk a little bit about, we'll hook it up when I hook up the JobLink app so you can see exactly what it looks like and the gross and the tare weight and how that's beneficial. Psychrometers and manometers. What do psychrometers test? Psychrometers. What did you say? Humidity. Yeah, that's humidity. Your delta T, right? Psychrometers are going to test your delta T. So they're going to test the differential in temperature for supply and return. Your manometers are going to give you your total external static pressure readings. Do these manometers look different than any manometers that you guys typically use? Are the hoses of typical length?
No.
What's that?
No.
No. Typically, what does this look like? Are these hoses long? Very, yes. And they're a pain. They get tangled. They get wrapped up in each other. So this is our manometers that allow you, actually, they're easy to use, right? Because you can put them in the system. The barb goes parallel to the airflow to give you your readings. You can do zone testing. How many of you here are commercial? Few. Okay. We can talk about that in case you want to do zone testing. You can hook up 7 manometers to do that zone testing and get all the readings within those zones and know where that problem is when you're working with a specific zone. So it's going to give you the P1 and P2. When you get those readings on your JobLink app, you'll know where to put your time, energy, and focus where you're getting that higher static pressure reading. So P1 and P2, it's going to show you on the app. It has a red arrow that's going to allow you to tell it exactly which direction to place the barb. So you're getting a proper reading for your total external static pressure. And it has a shorter hose, so it's more convenient to use. How many of you know that you can data log with our wireless tools? How many of you know what data logging is? Anybody want to guess? What's it? You're logging data. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. It records data over time. Yeah. So if you are having trouble on a job site and you cannot troubleshoot what the issue is, you can hook up the wireless tools to the system and log the data over a period of time. Could be an hour, could be a day, and it goes up to 7 days. And in the JobLink app, you can tell it, collect data every hour, collect data every 5 hours, collect data every day, once a day. So you can find that intermittent issue that you could never see when you're there. That is the benefit of data logging. It is then downloaded into an Excel spreadsheet. You take your tools, it hooks up to it connects with your computer, and you download into an Excel spreadsheet, and it comes out into very organized reports. All of our reports with our JobLink system come out in the refrigerant, electrical, and airflow. There's 3 different containers, and it's going to give you all those measurements, and they're very easy to read. They're convenient for the homeowner or the business owner to read themselves as well. And I will take you through when I hook up the JobLink app. You can send those to the customer, or you can send them back to your job site. So those reports are very beneficial. Questions? I think we covered each tool that's on here. Questions about the tools? When to use them? Again, you're using these tools to get high quality data, to make a good recommendation and a good plan of action for your customer to make them happy. Sure.
I don't use all the wireless.
Sure.
But how soon until we can just like plug it in and recharge? Then you've got 9 volt in your meter. You've got
right, because they are, yes. Yes. Yeah, you know, that's a very good question for both, by both of you. Some are USB now. Our leak detectors are USB, and our combustion analyzer is also USB. So it has a connector, and we're going to talk about our analyzer in a little bit. And some are battery. I wish I were. I'm not the developer or the engineer, so that's a really good question that I could figure out for you.
When they do go to batteries,
yeah.
it'd be nice if there was a way to
test.
the battery.
Oh, right. No. But how many of you have batteries go out often in our Fieldpiece tools? They have longevity, right? Okay, you're saying yes, they do go out. It's about 300 hours that you're going to get.
I normally start getting funkier readings.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I changed batteries.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, it's not to say that they need to be replaced, because they certainly do. It's a battery, they drain, right? But the time that from when you put them in to the time it needs to replace is approximately 300 hours. So it's a considerable amount of time. Yes? That's personal. That's personal preference. I would use, personally, myself, I would use the micron gauge, because it's going to tell you 3 different ways, which we're going to cover in a few minutes here, what's going on with your micron levels. So I would, the micron, the digital manifolds are built in with the micron. We talked about that, the micron gauge. You can override it with this micron gauge. This micron gauge, I would recommend. So I was beginning to say it's personal preference. I would say this micron gauge is better, because it's going to tell you 3 different ways which level your microns are going while you're pulling a vacuum. I can go over that with you. Yeah, there's a specific thing that you have to do and a procedure that you have to follow. And that's actually a good question. If you ever have questions about our Fieldpiece tools, about how to set up JobLink, how to create customers, how to create teams, how to use the vacuum pump, how to pull do a recovery. We have what's called Fieldpiece University. You can access that on our fieldpiece.com website. Sign up for that. We have all NATE certified classes. We also have short classes that are 2 to 3 minutes that are going to enhance, and they're going to give you backup about everything that I talked about today. So if you want additional knowledge, go to fieldpiece.com, and under there you'll see on the different tabs on the top, you hit support, you'll see Fieldpiece University. Sign up, go in there, check out our classes. I think that you guys would find them very beneficial. A lot of people do. Any other questions? Okay, so because you hooked up on all parts of the system, and because we want to make the customer happy, right? We have found that by hooking up all of our wireless tools, we have determined that there's an issue with our refrigerant charge. We have low refrigerant charge. Why do we, what's one reason we have low refrigerant charge? What do you have in the system? A leak, ding, 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 you have a leak. What's that? Bad TXV, sure. There could be multiple reasons, right? But the most common would be that there's a leak. In order to find a leak, you need to use a leak detector, and that's what I'd like to go over with you right now. Why check for refrigerant leaks? Because the EPA says we have to, right? Like Don went over a little bit today about rules, regulations, and standards. We are the messenger. We don't create the rules, regulations, and standards, but they tell us this is what we have to do. We create the tools to allow you to do it easier, faster, and better. Refrigerant is the lifeblood of the HVAC-R system. Having the correct amount of refrigerant is vital for the system to run efficiently. EPA regulation says we have to find the leaks and correct them. Comfort cooling will be difficult or impossible to achieve. And so there's many reasons that we find a leak. Our leak detectors, we have 2 of them. Not in the whole tool line would I suggest that you buy, we have good, better, and best products. I would never suggest, other than our leak detector, and I'll tell you why, that you buy the DR82. That is our infrared leak detector. So we have our heated diode, which is our DR58, and we have our DR82, which is our infrared. They have a lot of similarities. They both tell you 4 different ways that there is a leak. This lights up. It is audible. You see a bar graph, and you also see a number value. So it's going to tell you 4 different ways that you have a leak. It's also going to zero out every 1 to 2 seconds. It's going to search for a higher concentration of leak. So the way and the process that these go about finding the leaks and the way that they notify you are the same. There's one major difference. Not only to mention there's the way the refrigerant crosses and finds the leak is a little bit different, but the major thing that you want to make note of is that they have that both of them have sensors. The DR82 has a 10-year sensor life. So you're going to have confidence in knowing that for 10 years, you're going to see consistent values and consistent readings during that 10-year period. The infrared, the heated diode, the 58, that is not the case. After 300 hours, you have to replace that battery, that sensor. Not the battery, but the sensor. And after 150 hours, that your the leak numbers in the bar graph degrade over time. So you cannot be 100%. I'm not talking poorly about our leak detector, our 58, but honestly, there's $100 difference in cost between the DR58 and the DR82, and the sensor costs $60. So it's worth it in my mind, and that's why I communicate it to you guys. If you are interested in buying a leak detector, I would suggest all day long that you buy the DR82, because you're going to have that sensor for 10 years and you're not going to have to replace it. Yes, correct. Good question. The number is telling you it's seeking that higher concentration every time that it zeroes out. And you can auto zero it out too. So it has both of them have a low, medium, and high sensitivity. And the DR82 also has turbo. So it is constantly seeking out a higher value of concentration. So once it zeroes out, it's not going to detect a higher value until it's higher than what you just had. So that is the number. What's that? It's just different ways. Some, whether it's up and down or whether it's a number value. That's a good question. Parts, yes. Yeah, that's the concentration. Yep. Questions? Any other questions about that?
You gonna raffle one off?
Yes. I'll try out my auctioneering skills when I'm done. So this just goes ahead and shows you the 4 different ways that it finds the leak like I just talked about, and the leak source and how it's going to find that higher concentration. And the 50 and 50, how it has it to the sides of the 99 were the previous value that it found. So now it's now searching, it goes off when it hits 99. Okay, you have a leak. What do you now need to do? You have a leak, you found the leak, it's actually in your filter dryer. You need to repair and replace. But before you repair and replace and braze out, what do you need to do? Recover. Reclaim. Okay, that's good that you said that. Recover, reclaim. Do we recover first or do we reclaim first? Recover first, right? And we know now the importance of recovery and why you guys seriously, and I make no money. I mean, this has nothing to do with me, but I suggest all day long, go to 2J, figure out what their process is with reclaiming refrigerant. You guys need to know that these are the steps and these are the procedures that you follow. Once you recover the refrigerant, I'm not sure what 2J's process is, and they can communicate that to you. But recovery is only recovery. Reclaiming is not recovery, and recycling is not recovery. So you need to make sure you go through the recovery process. And we're going to talk about the steps of the recovery process. And we're first going to talk about what makes our recovery machine unique for the A2L refrigerants. What 3 things do you need to start an ignition? Fuel, oxygen, and a spark, a heat source. Okay. This new MR45 is a 0 stop. So what happens is when you're recovering that refrigerant and it hits 0, this is going to automatically shut off and stop because you have your recovery cylinder here, pretend. It's not going to add additional oxygen to the recovery tank to add one of the values of the 3, because we want to keep everything, we want to mitigate everything, right? We want to keep everything as low as we can. We don't want an opportunity for a spark to form and for an ignition to occur. So, no, actually it has a self-purge. Good question. So it's a single dial, and one of the options is self-purge, and we're going to go over that. We're going to go over the process. So it self-purges, so it cleans that out. That's an excellent question. It has an oversized condenser. So when you are recovering that refrigerant, our condenser literally goes on this whole side. It actually takes up 3/4 of the unit. Why do you need an oversized condenser? What would that do? Not that it's really that important for us in Ohio and me, Chicago. It doesn't overheat, cools off the refrigerant, okay? So when you're taking that refrigerant out of the system, it's going to cool it down. There's also something else that this MR45 and the previous version has, is a variable smart speed motor. Why, when you're recovering liquid and vapor, does it act differently? Does your recovery machine act differently? How does your recovery machine act when it's recovering liquid? Runs harder, runs slower. Does it ever move or shake or dance? It can move, shake, and dance, okay? So you're gonna have to throttle it, right? You don't have to do that with our MR45. It has a smart speed motor, so when it's going and recovering liquid, it's going to go slower. And when it gets to the vapor, it's going to automatically speed up. So you don't have to worry about forgetting to throttle. It's going to do that for you. So it has the oversized condenser, it has the auto shut or 0 stop, and it also has the self-purge and the variable smart speed motor. And it's only 22 pounds, actually. Yes. What's that? It does do, this does -10 and 20 also. But you don't want to do -10 and 20 when you're working with A2Ls. So that's a good point. Good point, good question. So thank you for pointing that out. So when you're specifically dealing with A2Ls, you're going to want to have or use the 0 stop. If you don't have the latest rendition of our MR45, you can just go ahead and stop it at 0 yourself. Because you're not, when you recover refrigerant, you're not going to leave the environment.
So can you program? Because ours is a new one, 9-year-old.
It's not a year old. I'd have to figure, you're going to actually be, again, these, because I traveled, so these aren't my tools. It has a sticker. It has 0 stop. Check that out. And what you do is you just press the units button, or on this one for 0. Okay, so when you want to stop at 0, you're going to actually have to watch the pressure. You're going to have to figure out when to stop it at 0. You're going to have to do that manually. But on the new recovery machine, it's going to automatically stop for you. So that is something new with our recovery machine, is the 0 stop. Are ports usually easy to access? Are all ports on all recovery machines easy to access? No. Typically, which way do they face? They down. So you're going to have to turn the machine up, right? You're going to have to put it on its side. So our ports, our inlet and our outlet port, are easy to access. They're parallel to the ground and at a good height. So you can hook your hoses up and do all your connectivity with ease. And they do that on purpose. There is I'm not going to undo it, but you can see here there's replacement ones. There's a mesh filter. So you can, on the inlet, does that cover your machine? Does that cover the protection of your machine, that little tiny mesh filter? Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a second as well. So we've determined that recovery is only recovery. We determined the importance of it, because what's taking place with the A2Ls that are in our environment, that are coming to our environment in a higher significance in the very near future, we need to recover more refrigerant. Our recovery machine allows you to recover more refrigerant with ease by having the 0 stop, by having the smart speed motor, by having the extra large condenser. So you're going to have a lot of added value with our recovery machines. Refrigerant safety information. Like Don said, you have to follow the guidelines for safety. And like we both have said, you need to use best practices. Okay. The 10-foot perimeter, Don mentioned that, and we say at Fieldpiece that it's very important to follow your codes and to set up that perimeter. Some people put cones out, some people laugh at the cones. You have Steve who's smoking a cigarette and he comes into the environment. You're working with A2Ls. Is that smart? No. If you have the cone set up, he would take notice something's different here. It's not A1s, it's A2Ls, and I need to be extra careful. I need to use best practices, and this is what we need to do in order to be safe and secure that there's not going to be an ignition. Ensure at least 5 air exchanges. What are air exchanges per hour within a zone if you're recovering? What would it be an example be of an air exchange? An open window, fresh air, fan. It's the air circulating because you want it circulating around your environment. Here is the tools for recovery. We have gone over pretty much all of these. We are MR45, our recovery cylinder. As Don said, it's going to have a red band around it, so it's going to be easily to identify. We're not sure about the left-handed thread yet, Don.
I got an answer.
Sure.
So I've got it sourced from our person internally that works on the tank side, and Hudson reached out to me. So right now, it looks like it's going to be left-hand threads, but AHRI has not finalized it yet.
Okay.
So it's suspected it's going to happen, but it's not.
Okay, gotcha. It's not in writing yet. Hot off the press, though. Thanks, Don. Left-handed threads on the recovery cylinder. And the charge cylinder. Yes, correct. Well, because you're going to use it on systems, exactly, you're going to use it on systems that don't have A2Ls. So that's why you're going to have adapters too. There's going to be left threaded adapters that you're going to be able to hook up to your tools as well. Filter dryers, manifolds, scale, PPE. Make sure that you are using best practices when recovering refrigerant. We know why we recover. How many of you pull a vacuum on your tank before you recover? Raise your hand. Oh, actually more than I would have suspected. First of all, good job. Best practice. And I suggest that pull a vacuum. Make sure your recovery cylinder is under 500 microns before you start your recovery. And then how many of you use a filter dryer? What is the purpose of using a filter dryer? Contaminants. Okay, it's actually for the protection of our machine. So we don't want the particulates getting into our machine. So it's really for the protection of our machine more than anything. And that's why we always suggest using a filter dryer. How much are filter dryers? They're cheap. Yeah, they're not super expensive.
Does your machine come with it?
Our machine does not come with a filter dryer. That is something that you need to purchase, and that's a very good question. So it is something that, you know, I don't know exactly how much maybe Scott, you do know how much the recovery machine is? No, approximately 1,000, give or take, you know, 100. But it's an expensive machine. So you want to make sure that you take care of it is my point, and use a filter dryer. The warranty is a year, but again, if it goes over a year, I would suggest calling Fieldpiece in Orange County and telling them what the problem is. And a lot of times, since they're very big into customer satisfaction and service, they're going to help you out. They may not like that I'm creating that message, but that is my message to you, because, you know, I work for you guys. I mean, I work for Fieldpiece, obviously, but I think having you guys be happy and doing what you do. Okay, when you are recovering refrigerant, what's one thing that you want to take away? Restrictions. Where are you going to have restrictions? Where at? Okay. Where else are you going to have restrictions? The hoses, right? So you want to make sure, in order for your recovery process to go quickly, you want to remove all those restrictions. What else do you want to do besides remove restrictions? What size hose? What'd you say? 3/8. You want to use a larger hose. That should be the hose you are using initially anyway, but that's, you know, removing all restrictions and using a larger hose. And this is going to take us through the process on what those flow restrictions look like. Do you have more room on the top picture or the bottom picture? Do they look about the same to you? They're not that much different, are they? What's right here and what's removed right here? What's that? Trader valve. Okay. That's going to show you how the refrigerant is going to flow, but we're going to go another step deeper, and we're going to tell you to use a valve core removal tool to remove those cores. And this is the difference of what it looks like. This is the core removed. This is the core still in place. Is the refrigerant going to flow more freely through this example or this example? Through this example, right? So this is just a visual indicator to let you know what you want to remove and what you want to do to allow your recovery process to go as quickly as possible. And this is just the hoses as well. Is the dip tube and the recovery tank is on the liquid or the vapor? Liquid. It's always on the liquid. I can't always promise you that it's going to be red, but it's always on the liquid. So when you do recovery, do you want to hook up to the liquid or the vapor? Vapor. Well, yeah, because if you do and you recover with the dip tube, it's going to go slower. It's not going. The process is not going to run as free. So you want to hook up to the vapor side, and you do not want to hook up to the liquid side. This is all in helping your recovery process go quicker. And this is going to be an indication step by step of how to set up your equipment, how to use our machine. And here is an example of our single dial that we have up here. It's going to show you which way to face that dial at what point in the recovery process. And I'm going to walk you through that step by step and show you what it does. Are your ports opened or closed? Your ball valves? Or what are they? They're closed. Okay, are you hooked up to the recovery tank on the vapor side? Is this hooked up, does it look like? No, you're not hooked up yet. Because the first thing that you want to do, what's in your hoses? Air. So what do you want to do first of all? Purge the air. So these are the steps that you're going to follow. You're going to have it closed. You're not going to have it hooked up to the recovery cylinder. And Now you're going to open, and when you open, you're going to take and turn the dial to recover, and you'll see come out that little hose, a plume of what? Of air. So you want to make sure that you release and purge that air out of your systems. So you're going to leave everything closed, and then when you turn the dial to recover, before you turn it to recover, you're going to open it up, purge that air, and then you're going to hook up to the vapor side, and then you're going to perform your recovery. This will help you pull and recover refrigerant quicker, and using the MR45 and the features and functions and benefits of it will even enable you to do that even quicker as well. And then in the end, when you're done, you can purge the refrigerant out of the unit with the self-purge dial. So you can change this dial and change it to purge when you're finished, and it's going to purge all that refrigerant out, so you're not going to get that cross-contamination as well. Questions on the recovery process? This is obviously the direct method. What is the other method? Push, pull. When do you use that? Push, pull. Big systems, yep, when you're recovering a significant amount. And then, like it says right here, the self-purge. You're going to leave everything open and purge that refrigerant from the system. And then you're going to close it, and your recovery is now complete. Unhook. And your process is finished. When we talked a little bit about the scale, and I'm going to hook up the scale when I take you through the JobLink app. And it is, again, 7 pounds. It holds up to 252 pounds, a 252 pound recovery cylinder. You can use multiple, you guys are mostly residential, so you probably wouldn't have a need for this, but I just like to let you know that you can use multiple scales on your JobLink app. So if you're pulling or doing multiple things at once on larger systems, you can see all that data in one shot with your JobLink app. IP54 rated, we don't want you to drop it in a pool, but it is good to have out in the rain. Okay, a little bit difference between waterproof and water resistant. This just shows how you carry it. And you can use it with JobLink, and you can use it with the report, or you can just use it with the transponder and get all the readings on the face alone. Does anybody, can somebody give me a time, Don?
Yeah, it's 10:57.
10. 10:57. When are we ending? 11 o'clock. Okay. I'm almost. I just wanted to hook up, take you through and make this complete, and then hook up the JobLinks just to let you guys know the features and functions. I'm not going to be able to give it to you in detail, but allow you to see what you can use by using our JobLink app with our JobLink family of tools, and how it's intended and designed to make you do your jobs and allow you to do it easier, faster, and better. 3 ways to view the scale with the transponder. You can also use the scale with the digital manifold. And you can use it with the JobLink app. And again, with the app, you can use the tare and you can see the tare and the gross weight. You've pulled okay, when you're done with recovering your refrigerant, we talk about best practices. What do you want to do before you evacuate? Does anybody know? You want to purge with what?
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen. You want to make sure. We talk about A2Ls and using best practices. This is an example of that. After you recover the refrigerant, you want to make sure that you purge with nitrogen to get all the oxygen and contaminants out before you evacuate the system. We talked about our vacuum pump, the RunQuick oil change being A2L certified, has 4 different ports, 1/2 inch, 1/4, and 3/8. And it has a blue LCD screen. All of our screens have the availability to be blue. If 99% of the people love it blue, but you have the option to also turn the blue off, just in case you would need to know that. Has a threaded nozzle on the side to let you vent out in case you're working on a dirty and wet unit. You can take a garden hose and purge it out a window. Gas ballast. How many of you use your gas ballast? Hopefully every single one of you. Are you going to have it open or closed to start with? Open. Right. When are you going to close it? When you want to pull a deep vacuum, right? Typically, are your gas ballasts twist or flip? Twist. And what happens when you're using your vacuum pump? What happens with your fingers? Do they get oil? Right? They get oily and dirty. So this is an added bonus and feature to our vacuum pump. It's just the flip of the switch. So you can just push, open and close the gas ballast easily with a flip of the switch. It sounds silly, but it's actually an added benefit and feature. And the RunQuick oil change. When you change the oil on the fly, you do not affect the micron levels. So you're not going to lose micron levels as you go down. And the next thing that we're going to talk about is our micron gauge. We talked about it being at the micron levels start out at 760,000. You want to pull it to under 500. Do you start seeing numbers right at 760? Does your micron gauge tell you? No. Ours starts telling you at 25,000. Typical micron gauges, do you guys have any feedback? Do you start seeing at 25,000 or 15? 9, exactly. Right. Oh, who starts at 100? Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay, but it takes a while to pull a vacuum, right? And for numbers to come up and show you what's going on. So with our vacuum gauge, it tells you 3 different ways that you're going in the right direction. You have the rate of change in the vacuum level. So the rate of change per minute is what your micron gauge is going to let you know. And then after you know the rate of change per minute, it's going to give you a bar graph. So it's going to give you a visual indicator whether you're progressing in the right direction, which would be decreasing, or whether it's going up. The levels are going up. If you're going up, what is happening? You have a leak. Or what else could be happening? You have bad hookup, right? You're not connected properly. You have hoses that are loose. And we also have the rate meter. So 3 different ways that are going to let you know which way you're progressing in when you're pulling a vacuum, which is very important. And again, since it has a screen, it can be used independently, or you can use it with our JobLink app, or you can use it with our digital manifold. So 3 different ways. Decay test, when do you perform this? How many minutes, I should say, after you pull a vacuum? How many minutes do you wait for this decay test to take place? What's the complete process or the complete time length from the start of a decay test to the end of a decay test? 15 minutes? It's about 15 minutes, yeah. And you're gonna, with our JobLink app, you're gonna get a visual representation that presents itself just as this. It's going to let you know whether you are good and in the green, and so that means that your micron levels are holding steady and they're holding low. If there's moisture in the system, you're going to get a line that is yellow, and it's going to let you know that you are not complete. If you have a leak, you're going to get the red line. And then this line to the left is just letting you know that you're trending in the right direction. So I'll show you that when I show you the JobLink app in just a minute here. Questions on the decay test? Is the decay test important? Yeah. You're completing the process of pulling a vacuum, right? You need to make sure that you complete that. Don talked about retrofitting. Do we want to put A1s into A2L systems? No. Of course, everybody's going to want to. That is an absolute no. So make sure that that doesn't happen. And how many of you do combustion analysis? Okay, actually more than I thought. When you do combustion analysis, do you check only the HVAC system? When you are doing a combustion analysis test, can you only perform combustion analysis on an HVAC system?
Like water heaters,
Yeah.
little bowl,
Yep.
fireplace.
Exactly. So you can check multiple things, but water heater is the thing that people, and I talked about not upselling your customer, because our intent is not to upsell. But when you are doing combustion analysis tests, I suggest that you do it on the system as well as on the water heater, because they are finding that a lot of water heaters are emitting higher levels of CO than what is allowed or permitted. I'm going to cover this quickly because I know we are running out of time, but When you have a combustion analyzer, what does it test? What two things is it looking for? Okay, gas and oxygen, CO and oxygen. So it has two sensors. When you have a CO and an O2 sensor, how often do you have to replace those sensors? Once a year, typically. You replace them once a year because when you have a combustion analyzer, typically, these sensors are exposed to the air. So when they're in a unit, they're exposed to air and they're degrading over time. Our combustion analyzer, we just came out with this a year ago, and it's really just infiltrated the market within the past, I would say, 3-4 months that everybody's kind of getting to know it. It takes a while for a tool to catch hold and for everybody to become aware of it. Our sensors, we guarantee for 4 years. And the reason that we can guarantee that for 4 years is because our sensors have a patent pending sensor vault technology. What that basically means is when this unit is off, those sensors are locked up in a vault. They are not exposed to the ambient air. So they will not degrade over time. They will only degrade when the unit is on. And so when you turn on the combustion analyzer, you heard a click. And if you don't push it down hard enough, you're going to get a warning that it's sealed. So that means you did not push it down hard enough and you did not unseal those sensors. And therefore, you cannot perform your combustion tests. So our combustion analyzers, we have 2 of them. This is our CAT 85. Yes? A very good question, and yes, they are. They're as simple as taking these 2 screws out, and they pop out like a printer cartridge. They literally just pop in and out. And you can actually carry extra sensors with you because they're in a sealed vacuum pouch, so they will not degrade over time. So when you buy a combustion analyzer on the shelf, that's not Fieldpiece, you have no idea how long those sensors were in that unit for. So you don't know how much degradation those sensors have had. So I'm going to stop this pump here. I'm not going to be able to go over the features and functions, but within our settings, it's going to give you how much sensor life you have remaining. Excuse me. So it's going to give you the exact percentage. So you're going to be confident in knowing that you have 58% or 48% or 95% or what have you. You're going to be able to do and confidently know that you can go ahead and either it's time to purchase sensors or I'm good to use these sensors for another 2 years or what have you, whatever be the case. That we have the DR82, or not the DR, this CAT 85 and the CAT 45. This is the CAT 85, like I said. They have a lot of similarities and they do have some differences. The similarities are the 5.5-inch screen. The interface is colorful and it's super easy to navigate through. You're going to have to spend time getting to know it. It's important to know that it's customizable to how you want it set up. How you want it set up is going to be different than how you want it set up. What kind of readings that you want to see in what order might be different than your partners, your coworkers. So know that it is customizable as well. The interface is very easy to navigate through. And the 85 and the 45 have the same interface and have the same readings, and you perform most tests, 99% of the tests, the same way. The CAT 85, there are 3 differences. It has what's called the hydrocycle. What do you typically find on a combustion analyzer? A water trap. Do you see a water trap here? No. Okay, the CAT 85 takes that flue gas, the water vapor, takes that sample, it takes it into the housing unit, and it condenses it, and then it puts it back into the flue. So that is one difference between our CAT 85 and our CAT 45. Another difference is our CAT 85 has a built-in manometer that comes with the tubing. So you can go ahead and check your different pressures, your gas pressures, and check your air, your total static pressure as well. And then it takes live draft pressure readings. So the CAT 85 takes live draft pressure. It's the difference between a video picture or video and a picture. So video is going to give you more information about what was taking place in the environment at that time, right? You're going to get the feeling and you're going to see what was happening and transpiring. The picture is still going to give you valuable and good information. It's just going to look different because it's not going to give you the whole snapshot. And you can also use trending. Can I get a time?
11:09.
11:09. Okay, I'm running out of time. Okay, questions.
Do that have a printer that come with it? Or
Does it have
you
what?
gotta buy a printer?
Oh, good question. You can buy it with a printer or you can buy it without a printer. The Cat 85 is also hooks up with our JobLink app. So it is JobLink compatible. So that means that you can run off reports or send them to the customer or back to your job site as you see fit. Or you can buy the printer because some overarching authorities require you to leave a printout after you've done the combustion analysis test. You can find things that you normally weren't able to find in a call with using the combustion analyzers. Cracked heat exchangers, water heaters. You know, there's all kinds of things that you can use and do. And we give classes. I can talk to 2J about that as well. We can have people come in like Scott Sharp back there. He can give combustion analysis courses. He works for TJ Finnegan and give you all the theory, give you where you hook up, how you hook up, what readings you're going to get, and sit with you and show you all the settings and all the testing that the combustion analyzer does. Questions about the combustion analyzer? Again, we have two renditions. The 85 has the yellow housing unit. The 45 has the black housing unit with a water trap. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, and I'm just going to hook up for just a minute or two just because I want you guys to see our JobLink app. Our JobLink app literally was to help you guys, like I've said multiple times today, do your jobs easier, faster, and better. To reduce callbacks, which is going to make your company that you work for happier, because you're going to get a complete picture of what's going on in the system at the same time, and you're going to be able to make an accurate diagnosis. And it's going to increase your professionalism too, because you can fill out reports. There's pre-work checklists, there's post-work checklists. You can create customers. You can do a live look-in. So what live look-in means is how many of you have new people on your job within like the past 4 years? Yeah. Would they have the same knowledge that somebody that has been there for 20 years have? No. So they typically would pick up the phone, right, and say, hey, these are my readings. I don't really understand. Could you give me some suggestions? So what a live look-in means is that if you have Tom, who's the experienced guy, with Jake, who's within the industry within 5 years, Jake and Tom can share their readings. He can actually see exactly what's going on with each other's systems and provide feedback and direction by using our live look-in series. I do want to show you really quick the end and the 3 different tiers that we have with our JobLink app and how much they cost for each tier. So when you get and you download the JobLink app on your phone, just so you guys know that you're going to get 60 days of all 3 versions for free. And so you're going to be able to figure out if the JobLink comes in this is free. It's going to give you all your measurements. It's going to tell you all your data. You're going to be able to PDF a copy of the report to the customer or back to the job site. And the JobLink Pro is the one that includes the live look-in. And that costs $12 a month per user. Just so you guys know, if you're creating those teams, that's $12 a month. And it's also going to allow you to save customer data. So if you are going back to the same customer over time, you can go ahead and save that data. You can tell exactly what you worked on, the name of the systems, where it is located, the geolocation, pre-work checklist, post-work checklist. You can do data logging. You can do all sorts of things. Question
on the other plans?
Yeah.
Anybody in your company still work in that department? I've submitted the request 3 times.
Okay, I'm going to give you my card because it's a good question, first of all. Yes, there has been a specific team designed to enhance our JobLink app.
Good, because I'm trying to get a hold of them to check out the other ones. I never got 90 days free of anything. They said, go into the app and it says request information.
Right.
I've done it 3 times. I've written that.
Okay. Okay.
I'd be interested in the other ones.
Yeah, of course. I'll give you my card, and I'll talk to you before we exit today. So, good question. I'm happy to help. If anybody, needs any information on things like that or training, or our training department actually comes to contractors too, and we give training on our JobLink family. We give training on our app. We give training on our tools. We give training on our combustion analyzers, on our recovery machines. Any kind of training that you would need, we come out and actually do free of charge for your company. So I will give you my card if that is of interest to you, and we will set you up and to make sure that that training transpires. The JobLink Pro Plus, which is the top version, is $29 a month, and what that gives you is the ability to create invoices. It syncs up and integrates with QuickBooks. So that is the difference between the 3 tiers, and that is the cost per month. Again, if you download the JobLink app, I would highly suggest you have, somebody that you want to connect with, maybe, to create a team. And you do that all online. You can create your teams and do that and set it up on the computer. All right.
Do any of those levels still allow you the data logging?
You can data log in all 3 levels. Good question. Yep. Any other questions about our JobLink?
When creating a,
yeah,
do you have an admin and have people underneath the admin that can't do what the admins can do, or no?
Oh,
That's where I was going.
yeah, I see. That's why you asked. I don't know. Because,
I work for him,
yeah,
so
yes.
we're all signed underneath the same account, and he's like, you can delete everything.
Right.
To be honest.
No, exactly. No, that's a really good question. I love honesty and appreciate honesty. That's a good point. There has to be a way. Just with that point you just shared with me, there has to be a way to do that. Yeah, yeah. Additional information, like I said, go to Fieldpiece University, and that concludes our time together today.